Hey guys, welcome back to Mountain Murders.
I'm Heather.
And I'm Dylan.
Happy Valentine's Day weekend, folks.
Yay!
Hope everybody had a great weekend. We had a good time.
Hope you got some snuggles and lovin's from your lover.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's not to you. You know you did.
Way to make it awkward, Dylan.
Okay.
So weird. No, we had a great Valentine's Day. We went out Friday night.
Yes, we did.
Did a little dancing.
Made fun of people.
Yeah, that was mostly what we did. And then yesterday we went to Charlotte for an Oddities and Curiosities Expo.
That was pretty dope.
It was really awesome. It was crowded, and I feel like people were so rude. If you're standing in line, like waiting to approach a table or a booth, these fuckers would just step right in front of you, literally push me out of the way.
I feel like we didn't see half the stuff.
I'm just like, fuck you, dude. What you'll think when I kick you in the damn kneecap or something, because I'm really short.
But we did.
That's about all I could do.
We did score. We did score some good stuff.
Oh, we did. So my favorite thing, I really love. We bought a sideshow, like a circus sideshow banner.
Yes.
That was like one of my favorite things that we picked up.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
What was your favorite thing? I bet I know.
What, the wet specimen?
Yes.
Oh, our little guinea pig we got?
Yeah, we got a hairless guinea pig, wet specimen.
I'm going to name him Harry.
We're going to put him in our living room.
Yeah, his name's Harry.
Because if we decorate with dead things, then less people will stop by our house.
So it's a win-win.
It makes them feel uncomfortable. It is a win-win.
Yeah, so let's dive into this incredible case you have here.
Yeah, so today's case, very fascinating and happened right here in our hometown, Dylan.
It did.
We're going to be talking today about Thomas Wesley Harden. On October 22nd, 1991, the owner of the Covered Wagon Motel in Waynesville, North Carolina, discovered the body of 48-year-old Thomas Wesley Harden. Harden was an out-of-towner, a construction worker who had been staying for about a month at the motel. Now, initially, the investigating deputy considered his death that of natural causes. However, Harden's death would later be ruled a homicide after being inspected by the state medical examiner. 29 years have passed with little progress in solving Harden's case.
My God, that's a long time.
Very long time. Now, this case has always interested me. As a child, I would swim at the Covered Wagon Motel. I guess my family, my mom, my grandmother, they knew the owner at the time.
Yeah.
They would let us swim there in the summer. I almost drowned in that pool.
Oh, my gosh.
Like, for real. Some lady had to jump in to get me. I was a toddler. I almost died.
Jeez.
Right? So a lot of memories at this place. I remember this story in the newspaper when I was a kid as well. When we decided to create Mountain Murders, it was a case that was on my list. And in 2016, when I was still working as a news director for a radio station locally, there was a press release that was sent out about this cold case, landed on my desk, and I just couldn't believe all these years later, this case had not moved forward at all.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's almost like they're not doing anything with it, you know?
I found Thomas's daughter Renee online and reached out to her. She was willing to share with us some great information about her dad, his life, and the case. With every case, someone out there knows something. And maybe we can help bring justice to this family, even if it's simply telling Thomas's story.
Yeah, definitely.
A little bit about Thomas. He was born September 21st, 1943 at Turner Field Air Force Base in Albany, Georgia. He was the oldest of 8 children. Harden was raised by his grandparents in Albany, which is a mill village. So just a really small town, a lot of mill workers there. Probably very similar to where we live.
Yeah, you got the little tiny houses in a row, you know, just enough room for a family. A little small family, dad, mom, works all the time, either or. Yeah, just a little busy little industrial village.
The Hardens were not a wealthy family, but they were rich in love. He developed a very strong bond with his grandmother, whom he called Mawn. And when she passed away in 1980, he was emotionally devastated. This was like his mother figure.
Well, I'm sure that was hard on him.
Thomas was outgoing. He was very protective of his family and was described as having a tender heart. He was loyal and likely to his detriment as we get further into the story. In August of 1960, he wooed a young woman named Elaine when he was 17 years old. She was 17. By the age of 22, they would have 4 daughters together. That's a lot of
Wow.
girls.
Popping them out there.
Though Thomas was a married man, he didn't let that stop him from being a ladies' man. He was tall, dark, handsome. He was described as having sort of Tom Selleck-like dimples, big blue eyes. He knew he was good looking, and he used those good looks in charm, flirting with those he found attractive. Again, his daughter Renee said as a teenager, she would get very embarrassed when her dad would flirt. Like they would go to the Piggly Wiggly and he would have the checkout girls just blushing and giggling, and that it was just very embarrassing.
Well, I'm sure.
Infidelity was the biggest problem in his marriage to Elaine.
Well, yeah, it's not going to help any relationship.
In 1969, he met a young woman and began a passionate affair while he was away working in Indiana. She called it off when she found out he was married to another woman and was the father of 4 young daughters. Details apparently he had forgotten to mention. However, it was too late. She was pregnant. After they split up, she married another man who happened to be one of Thomas's co-workers. She ended up moving to Albany, gave birth to his only son in October of 1970, but Thomas didn't have an opportunity to raise his son, mainly out of respect for this woman's marriage.
Right.
The boy's stepfather, had chosen to step in, take this child, raise this child as his own. So Thomas was trying to be respectful of that situation. Just probably the right thing to do.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a lot better than it being some, fighting back and forth and, him hating the child, the stepfather just having bad feelings towards the child because, the father is, arguing back and forth. So, yeah, I think that's probably the best choice to make.
And though this woman would later say that Thomas had been the love of her life, she was married and she wanted to raise her son along with her new husband. It's just less complicated. Probably less to explain to your child, too.
Yeah.
He was a good grandfather. He would take his granddaughter fishing often. He would bait the dock with dog food so she would have better luck catching fish. He loved his grandchildren. His children spoiled them all at every opportunity. Thomas didn't even want his granddaughter calling him granddaddy when they would go to the swimming pool because he was worried that there would be hot single moms around.
Huh.
And he didn't want them to think he was a grandpa.
He didn't want her to scream, "Peepaw!"
So he sounds like kind of a fun guy.
Yeah.
Just goofy.
Right.
I mean, I can imagine, being that granddaughter, how that had to be kind of funny. Because, he was probably teasing, like, "Don't you call me Papa."
Right.
Well, Thomas had a boat, and he often took his kids to the lake. That was an activity that they all really enjoyed as a family. And again, he really loved his kids and his grandkids. His daughters would say he was a very good dad. He would let the girls paint his nails, put makeup on him, all in good fun. I mean, when you're a little girl and your dad is willing to sit down, play Barbies with you, or beauty parlor, or kind of any of those things that, it's just kind of funny to see dad sitting down having a tea party wearing a fancy hat.
Right.
I mean, that really means something to you. Just like probably for a little boy, it's pretty cool to have your mom willing to like get out in the dirt to play monster trucks or whatever you wanted to play. Right? Makes a lot of memories. Well, at some point in 1973, Thomas got into trouble with police. He had allegedly sold some stolen property. Instead of turning himself in, he packed up his family and went on the lam, settling in Sumter, South Carolina. At age 30, he was on his own, raising 4 little girls. He was hardworking, going every day and making sure he was keeping a roof over their head, food on the table. Life at this time was pretty difficult considering the girls didn't have their mother and he had little support from any outsiders, family, hardly any friends to help with childcare. At that point, his daughters are having to assume some responsibility, kind of take care of each other.
Yeah, the oldest, I'm sure, taking on a lot of responsibility.
His kids called him Mr. Nice Nasty, which is kind of a funny name, and it's because he liked to clean house. He ran a tight ship. He had daily routines. He was pretty strict with sticking to a schedule. Everyone had their chores that had to be done. He liked things just a certain way.
Well, yeah.
Mr. Nice Nasty.
Yeah, you need somebody to help out. Kids are going to have to do it.
Christmas of 1974, the kids came home from school to brand new everything. And this was like a Christmas that they would remember for a long time. They had brand new appliances, new furniture, clothes, toys. I mean, it was just a huge surprise for the girls. Thomas really did strive to be a good provider, And having grown up with little material possessions, he really wanted to be able to lavish his daughters with gifts and outings. He would take the girls skating, to the movies. Again, they would spend a lot of time at the lake. And he was just like, these things were really important to him.
Right.
Little did the girls know, he was not earning this kind of money working construction. He had actually committed a federal offense when he took a piece of stolen heavy machinery across state lines and sold it. He received about $2,000 for the property, which he in turn used to treat his family.
Oh, that's not good.
With the law on his tail, he moved his family again in 1975, and they landed in Dothan, Alabama. It was within no time that Thomas was arrested. He
Called
was
up to him.
sentenced to 17 years in federal prison for the stolen property and another 8 years for state crimes he had committed in Georgia and South Carolina.
Wow. That's not good.
Paroled in 1979, he went to a halfway house in Albany. It is there he met and married his second wife. He settled into married life with Kathy, taking 2 of his daughters to live with him. And things were pretty good during this time. His daughter recalls waking up on Saturday mornings to the smell of those hot and ready Krispy Kreme donuts.
Oh, gosh.
And her dad would be in the kitchen with the Eagles cranked up, singing along really loud, wake everybody in the house up.
Cleaning the house.
I got donuts.
Have a good day.
He and Kathy had a pretty active social life. They would host cookouts at their home. They would go out dancing quite a bit. And he would attend his stepson's Little League games, cheering loudly from the stands.
Well, it sounds like, he made some bad choices, paid his time in prison, but it sounds like he's trying to move on with his life, and have a decent, stable home for his children, keep raising his children.
Well, that's one thing I think people tend to forget when we're talking about criminals, no matter what their crime is.
They're just people.
They are just people, and we often just label them immediately like, oh, well, this person's a drug dealer, this person's a thief, this person's a murderer.
Right.
That's just one thing that they did. It doesn't define who they are as a person.
Right.
I mean, people are very, multifaceted people.
Well, it's
We're
true.
complex.
Just because you made these bad choices doesn't mean you're a terrible person.
Right.
Obviously, murder and things like that's pretty devastating. We talk about monsters, people that are, enjoy murdering and things. But I think most of the time it's just, bad circumstances. You made a poor choice, maybe drugs involved or, anything like that. But that doesn't mean you're just, you're a normal person who wants to, have a job and, have a household, raise kids if you have kids.
He was a hard-charging, hard-partying guy, too. Those closest to him said he cussed like a sailor, smoked like a freight train, and drank lots of Budweiser. And he really liked loud Southern rock music.
What's America's beer?
He's a good-time party guy, right? Thomas earned the nickname Homer because working in construction, he did a lot of traveling for work, but he would always secure employment for his homeboys. He would always make sure that his brothers, his friends from Albany, would have jobs, would be able to come along with whatever job he was working. He would get them jobs as well.
Well, that probably makes it easier to be away from home.
Wanted everybody to be able to make money and have a good time. And I'm sure, have a couple friends around. Traveling for work sucks.
Yeah.
It'd be really lonely.
Yeah, that'd be tough.
It was after the death of his grandmother, Maud, which, if you remember, that was in 1980. She'd raised him, and family members say that they just saw a shift in Thomas's behavior. He started drinking heavily. It went from the, maybe the weekend six-pack to excessively drinking to the point of just being drunk. And during those times, he would get really emotional, cry, just a blubbering mess, or he would just get really hateful and mean and angry.
Well, it sounds like he's trying to drink his feelings away.
Exactly. And a combination of the depression, anxiety, stress, it was just all catching up to him. And it was during this time that Thomas began using heroin.
Oh, that's not going to help.
By the mid-1980s, he was on his second divorce, finding himself in more legal trouble for burglary. And he spent some more time in jail.
Oh, gosh, Thomas. He's tried, but every time seems like he's getting, then his grandmother dies, and it seems like it kind of sent him in a tailspin, and I'm sure that's what helped lead to this second divorce. It's just thought the guy can't win.
By the end of the 1980s, Thomas was moving around a lot from job to job, and during that time, he met a woman named Sharon. The two ended up getting married in 1990, and they seemed like they were a pretty good pair. Thomas was working, but also actively using drugs and alcohol during this time. She would often